Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Alliance, your home on the Geek Ultimate Alliance podcast network for any and all things Star Wars. I'm your host, Katie, with the sun in my eyes, even with my blinds closed. Uh, yes, we are at our very brand new time, um, on Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern, though it is now 2:13. Um, Admittedly, I overslept. And I have no idea where Clay is. So just doing the routine of going ahead and starting, and we'll see what happens. We do have a little bit of news to talk about today. Um, and then I guess I'll be diving into my High Republic Phase 3 theories, and then we will call it a day, potentially. To see how Clay is doing, if he ever comes back. I don't know. Clay, I love you. Please. Let me try calling him one more time. Clay. At least you're gonna have 4 days to edit this, Clay. Merry Christmas. Oh, this is the Marvel Alliance brand. We need to be on the Star Wars Alliance brand. There we go. Guys, we're getting it together. Y'all can hear the phone ring. Welcome to live podcasting. I'm your host, Katie. Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice. Still nothing. Yeah, so if he wakes up, I'm assuming if he took a nap like I did, and we will see what happens. But let's go ahead. Remember podcast paperwork side of things. Star Wars Alliance is part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance podcast network. We have 8 shows, 7 days a week. The schedule is new, so you guys check it out in the description box below. Because DC, Marvel, and a walk through the multiverse all change things up. So yeah, check out the schedule below if you're new here. If you haven't been here in a while and are coming for some High Republic Phase 3 theories, and you're like, oh, you have other shows. Like, yeah, go check them out down below. We have 3 rules around here. Rules. I can't think of the word that I typically use. Um, the first thing that you need to know about the show is we're an ad-supported show, ad-supported network. Uh, I or Clay will give you a warning before those ads are to occur, but just so you know now, we don't get to choose who the ads are from, nor how many times you hear the same ad in the same episode, nor how loud those ads are. So that warning is just to help you prepare those volume levels. The second thing that you should know about the show is we do have a Patreon. We have 2 tiers. The $1 tier helps keep the Kyber crystals charged around here, and the $5 tier gets y'all ad-free episodes, exclusive episodes, any early episodes we may drop, as well as access to our live Patreon call-in show, which we did not do this one this month. Things just got a little too chaotic. I do believe our next one is going to be the weekend of November 18th. So keep an eye on that. Because you can come join the fun. Um, that was not a text from Clay. Um, Sorry guys. Still waking up. I'm trying though. I'm really trying. Um, the third thing, I guess that's typically my spoiler warning, but we're not really talking spoilers for anything. I have read Eye of Darkness, which is technically the first book of Phase 3, but all of my theories do not include uh they're more like general picture. Um like I specifically try like I had some, but like they talk about stuff in Phase 3, so we're not even gonna talk about those. We're not gonna talk about those. Because I don't want to risk spoiling things. Um, I know this week was technically supposed to be our Eye of Darkness review. If you're listening to this on Thursday, because the embargo breaks on November 1st. However, because we're recording today, uh, embargo is not up and we go live. So it's not happening today, which is why the theory is happening today. So I hope you guys didn't miss us too much, but that will be next week. That didn't make any sense whatsoever, but I think you guys got the picture, hopefully. Um, so let us see the news sort of things first. Tom is apparently in the middle of editing The Living Force by John Jackson Miller, which is out in April, and he wants everybody to kind of have a note written down for chapter 14. That's all he says, and he says you'll know when you know. But yes, if you would like to mark down things that Tom says about the books while he's editing, that would be one of them. Um, Goldsboro is doing a special edition of The Eye of Darkness. It is signed, numbered, and has sprayed edges. They're yellow edges. It looks pretty cool. Playing off of the cover, especially with the yellow lightsaber on the front with Marchion. Um, but it's not they're not doing out of print editions of the High Republic books for this phase, like phase 2. So this is gonna be really the only special edition that you can kind of pick up. So if that's something that you're interested in, I do believe Gold's that is officially out to the public, not just if you've bought a book before. I don't know if I'm gonna do the sprayed edges. I did the sprayed edges round for phase 2, but I'm also, like, I'm running out of room, uh, so I still love the High Republic books, uh, but it's not something that I think I'm gonna keep going with in the future. I would rather have special edition covers than the sprayed edges. The sprayed edges are really cool, please don't doubt that, and I love the texture of them. They're really cool. The next thing in the publishing realm to kind of talk about is going back to the Cyberspace original graphic novel line, which it says is all going to be out. I do believe it says it's all going to be out in 2024. Um, but the full lineup currently for the original graphic novels, because obviously they could add things, they could change things, but right now the full lineup of characters includes Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Mace Windu, Qui-Gon Jinn, Rey, General Grievous, Kylo Ren, and Darth Vader. Um, now that I think about it, I don't think all of those are going to make it out, especially with the Qui-Gon one coming in April, and then the Obi-Wan Kenobi one is coming out in uh the summer. So I don't think those I take that back. I'm sorry, guys. But those are all of the characters. So I'm very excited to see the Rey and Kylo Ren ones, especially because these I I want to say that these would be the first time sequel characters are getting a story since Charles Soule's 100th comic for Star Wars, where he did the Poe Dameron sequel mini story in his comic. So I'm those are ones that I'm particularly excited for. I am excited for Qui-Gon as we go through like the Brotherhood of the Ninth Door. And also well there was a planet mentioned. It's not in the summary. I think we talked about it last. Oh no, here it is. Sorosha, which was mentioned. Uh, the summary says, or no, the George Mann, excuse me, said, "I'm thrilled to be getting my hands on Qui-Gon at last. At long last, he's such an icon of the prequel era, and it's a real joy to be able to add to his story. Expect everything from lightsaber battles to creepy investigations, from dark side sects to familiar faces, as we check in on Qui-Gon at three pivotal moments in his life, venturing to the streets of Jeddah as a Padawan." So, this would be the earliest mention of Jeddah in the current Skywalker saga. So that's interesting to me. And then to the distant world of Sorosha as a lonesome Jedi Knight, which Sorosha was first mentioned in his somebody pointed this out on Twitter, so this is not from me, but this is from Myths and Fables. There's two stories, The Wanderer and The Dark Wraith. So that is interesting. I have not actually read those books. I do have them, I just haven't read them. But that will be something that I will make a point to pick up so that I can understand the context of those of the planet and because man wrote those stories of what he's trying to get across by throwing that mission out there. And then the last thing he says, and deep into the wreck of an ancient spaceship as a Jedi Master. Count Dooku, young Obi-Wan, it's all here. Plus, of course, the most gorgeous art from Andrea and Gigi. So like I said last week, I think these graphic novels are a really smart idea. Graphic novels have, I think, picked up its steam recently. So they're able to do a lot with it, and having a focus be on a specific character versus like a character's life versus telling a story as like the first one. I'm not huge into the time skip, but I do find it interesting, especially for Qui-Gon Jinn. So that again out April 23rd, 2024 in bookstores and comic shops on April 24th, 2024. So there you guys go. Uh I was hoping to have Clay to talk about this one with, or these last two with, but um, we'll just go with it. All right. So Matthew Vaughn, this was, I believe, a piece of his. This is okay. This is a YouTube link. Sorry, y'all. I looked at all this, um, and then didn't keep. So on Happy, Sad, and Confused, I believe this is early promotion for his upcoming movie Argyle, which has Henry Cavill in it. So I'm super excited about it. It also has I don't think it's Doja Cat. Is it Doja Cat? I gotta look this up now. Excuse me. Argyle. So I saw the trailer. It was Dua Lipa. I knew it wasn't Doja Cat, but I knew it was a singer. Um, is Dua Lipa a singer? Yes, yes, she is. Okay, I did get that right. I saw the trailer for Argyle, by the way, and was like, "Wow, this is a little wacky." And then I actually looked up like the premise and was like, "Oh, okay, this isn't that wacky." So I'm interested for it. I'll enjoy Matthew Vaughn's movies, but anyways, back to the Star Wars news. On Happy, Sad, and Confused, or Happy, Sad, Confused, excuse me, Matthew Vaughn said he would reboot the Skywalker saga, including Darth Vader and more. And he said, everyone is going to go batshit crazy, but let's bring it on. If you want a new generation, make the movie for them. The old generation, hopefully you make it well enough that they enjoy it. Sir, um, I do believe that that was the sequel trilogy. That was a reboot of Star Wars, especially. I mean, did you watch The Force Awakens? Because it was like pretty much a redo of A New Hope. And if you disagree with me, too bad because I'm a podcaster here. No, I'm just kidding. You're more than welcome to your own opinions. Water break. Sorry. Um. So I just don't think, especially like I totally see Star Wars getting rebooted at some point. Let's be real now. Everyone is gonna try it to do something different. There are very few original ideas in Hollywood anymore. And so eventually at some point, somebody's going to give in and say, you know what, let's redo A New Hope. And from there, things are just gonna spiral. But I think with the way that the timeline works with Star Wars, and I know every franchise has a timeline, but with the way Star Wars was built originally with the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, I think that gives you opportunities to reboot without having to redo stories. And you can still make an original story, but like what happens 200 years from Rey, Poe, and Finn? Like, you could have another super weapon at that point. Like, history repeats itself. We all know that. We're seeing it live right now. Um, so I definitely think that it's just Star Wars gives it Star Wars built in its own opportunity to do reboots without having to use the same characters over and over again. And you can have characters that speak to you, but literally have the same A New Hope story, aka Force Awakens. So that is my opinion on Matthew Vaughn's rebooting Skywalker Saga. Though I would love to see a Matthew Vaughn movie in Star Wars. He's very talented. He could do, like, a really funny if, you know, if like, he could do a really funny Rogue One concept. Like, I love Rogue One, so I wouldn't trade Rogue One for anything, but, like, the Rogue One concept, I feel like is very up Matthew Vaughn's alley. Um, what do you think? Let me know. And via email, via our Twitter, if Twitter is still around by the time this makes it, because you can contact our hotline, 830-538-4828, and text or leave us a voicemail. Just make sure you give us a way to address you. Um, or you can email us Star Wars Alliance with no A in the wars at gmail.com. And just kind of give us some feedback. What do you think about what Matthew Vaughn said? Is it time? Is it too early? But you see it coming. Like, cause me, I would think it's too early. Um, but that it's gonna come at some point because people that's just what Hollywood does. However, somebody says in the comments of this Geek Vibes Nation post that I took the quote from, don't know about a reboot, but I believe that they should be open to recasting the characters of Han, Luke, Leia, and so on and so forth, so they can use them in other stories. Clay and I both agree with that. I do not consider that a reboot. Uh, that is a recast. And I mean, heck, they've already done it halfway. So, halfway because if you count the person appearing as Leia in Rogue One and the uh what's his name? Garrett, I think, in The Mandalorian appearing as Luke that they've been CGIing their face over, that's halfway. As well as they've already got Alden Ehrenreich as Han. So perfectly possible to recast, I think, without having to retell those stories and opening yourself up to the roughly 35-year period between The Force Awakens and Return of the Jedi. So, all right, the last bit of news we have is from Variety, where Sean Levy is talking about his limited series, All the Light We Cannot See, which premieres this week on Netflix on November 2nd. Um, they briefly talk about Stranger Things and Deadpool 3. Uh, So, yeah, he talks a lot about the strike, so very good interview with him, because like, one of the questions is, "How important is Stranger Things in the strike negotiations?" Ted Sarandos, which I believe is the CEO for Netflix, is reportedly eager to have the 5th season go into production, and Levy says, "I can't speak to how important Stranger Things is to Netflix in the strike talks, and I'm not inclined to speak on their behalf." Very good answer. Um, like, because he's not on the negotiating team for either side, um, and, that just allows him to s still appear as a director and writer because the writer strike is over, so he can do publicity in that regard. Um, but yeah. Um, so he said, 2 things, um, in regard to Star Wars. So the first question was in an interview, did he say 2 things? Oh, no, he said the 3 things because that was the thing we were gonna talk about. Uh, so the first question, in an interview conducted last year, Mark Ruffalo said, "You always get the same version of Star Wars each time. Now that you're working on one, how will you do things differently?" And Levy said, "When Kathy Kennedy brought me on board to make a Star Wars movie, her central mandate to me was I want a Sean Levy movie. I want a story and a tone that reflects you and your taste and what you bring to your movies with a Star Wars story." So I have felt extremely empowered. We are in early days, unfortunately, because the development process was abruptly paused due to the WGA strike, but I feel very empowered to trust my instincts in the development of this story and movie. And I like that answer, and especially I think with his success, because he did Free Guy and then he did the Netflix movie with the Percy Jackson kid. Um, I can't think of it. Yes, so he did Free Guy, and then he did, The Adam Project, which I greatly enjoyed both. Um, oh, apparently he also directed Night at the Museum, Secret of the Tomb. Okay. Oh, he did 2 of he directed all 3 of the Night at the Museum movies. You learn something every single day, I swear. Um, yeah. I did not know that. That's interesting. Okay. Sorry, guys. Um, so I really enjoy all of his movies because the Night at the Museum movies, don't hate me, they're some of my favorite movies of all time. Growing up, like I that was one thing that I always got for Christmas was I always got the new Night at the Museum movie on DVD, and then I got the new Pirates of the Caribbean movie on DVD. So, uh, my dad didn't know about those, I think. I got those from other people than my mom, but yeah. A lot of talking doing by yourself. Ugh. Clay, have fun editing this one because I'd take a lot of pauses and I haven't written a single one down. Um, so the second question on the list was, as I check Instagram to see if I have, nope, none yet. He's probably taking a nap. Um, because that's what you do on Sundays is you take a nap. Especially after a long, hard day at week, which he had his first week at his new job, so I don't necessarily blame him. Um, so second question. Anyways, it's like you just added all the comments out. I'm sorry. I am like finally awake now, so at least there's that. Okay, so second question, as I said that for the fourth time now, I think. Could Deadpool 3 be good practice for Star Wars? And Levy said the experience that I'm currently having with Marvel on Deadpool is showing me firsthand that it is indeed really possible to feel empowered and personal about making a movie within a universe that is bigger than any one film. My Deadpool movie is turning out to be exactly what Ryan Reynolds and I had hoped when we started off, so I'm going into the development of my Star Wars movie with similar optimism and faith that my instincts will be allowed to lead the way. I think he's having a really good experience with a Marvel movie because he has picked the Deadpool movie and is not directing something. And this is not Marvel Alliance. This is Star Wars Alliance. But I am interested to see if he had picked a if he had been picked for a different movie other than Deadpool, because I know he has a really good relationship with Ryan Reynolds. Um, and especially after Free Guy and the Adam Project, it makes sense that Ryan Reynolds had a really good experience with him and would want to do Deadpool 3 with him. But because it's Deadpool, I feel like you're allowed a little more creativity because Deadpool is just so wild versus anything else. And um it's mainly especially what I've heard, like Nia DaCosta said she had a really good experience with the Marvels, um, but also that a lot of people are saying that it doesn't look like her movie in, some of the sneak peeks. So I'm just it's still a little bit nervous, especially after, how good, like, the Phase 4 movies were and, some of the Phase 5. I have not liked everything that Marvel has put out, especially TV show-wise, but the movies have been very good and feel like the directors themselves. So I need to see that stay consistent, and I'm worried because they haven't been getting good reviews, especially for the TV shows, that they're pulling things back in to how things were beforehand. But so but it does give me hope that he's had a good experience, but also key point that I know Snell would want me to make, Marvel is Marvel, Star Wars is Star Wars, and we have seen that Kathleen Kennedy has pulled uh creative directors off of their movies because of what happened with The Last Jedi, and that they have gotten a little too far into the fan experience is what matters. And don't get me wrong, the fan experience does matter, but they're not making movies to have a director story because um and we got this with like DC stuff with Zack Snyder. So I'm not saying like Marvel is the only one who does it. Like Zack Snyder made his Man of Steel, made roughly his Batman versus Superman. Uh and then we end up in the realm of hey, everybody hates this. So now we got to go with a different direction. Um and we have to produce a DC movie. We have to produce a Star Wars movie, um pulling the Christopher Miller and Phil Lord off of Solo, pulling um what's his name off of Rogue One. And the original Oh my gosh, Gareth Edwards directed it, but do 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 do. Where is the yeah, here we go. Um, post-production. Yes. So Gareth Edwards technically directed, um, but Gilroy came in and very heavily did a lot of reshoots on Rogue One. Solo, Christopher Miller and Phil Lord didn't even like make it through halfway of production until I don't have any of these guys in front of me. Sorry, guys, and my brain is not functional. During pregnancy, especially. Ron Howard finished the direction for Solo, and then The Rise of Skywalker, which was originally supposed to be directed by development Colin Trevorrow, who did the Jurassic World stuff. He was completely taken off, so we saw it just get heavily and heavily more um like you're taken off at certain points because like Rogue One was the first film and they did reshoots with a different director, though Edwards did state that he was heavily involved in the reshoots. But it looks a lot different, and we know that Tony Gilroy was pulled in for Andor. Um, so then with Solo, Miller and Lord got pulled off uh early in the like still in filming process, but they did not get to finish. And then Trevorrow was like yanked before like the story was even finalized. So the joys of filmmaking. But we've just seen that a lot of times the Star Wars franchise has chosen after The Last Jedi to go with something that looks like a Star Wars like a traditional Star Wars movie versus um versus hey, this is X's movie within Star Wars universe. So Andrew's in the chat. Hello, Andrew. Welcome. Welcome. I don't feel as alone now. Just kidding. Uh so that is oh wait, so we didn't even get to like the main topic of Sean Levy's interview because I just got off topic with Marvel and DC and film director stuff. So the last question that is Star Wars related in this interview from Variety uh is since you're close to Adam Driver, which everybody on the internet seemed to realize that seemed to like freak out and go like Sean Levy's close with Adam Driver? Like, is he? So that was news to everyone. But the finished question, since you're close to Adam Driver, could your Star Wars movie be a prequel to Episode 7, The Force Awakens, in which Kylo Ren would be Beth? And Sean Levy said, your words, not mine. As you know, Adam is a buddy, and I've always been a huge fan of Kylo Ren, but no comment. And this is a smart move. Like, he can't lean any one direction as to how his Star Wars movie is going to go, especially because like he hasn't even done the scripting process yet. So he might have an idea for the rise of Kylo Ren with Charles Soule as a writer on it. I don't know. That would be a dream, but this is a smart way to play it, especially as things get picked back up. Like I know he's still like he could probably start writing the Star Wars movie because the SAG after strike is still going, and from the looks of it, the studios will not get their shit together, and have said if they don't have a contract with SAG after before November 1st, then they will not have a contract until January, which is a huge pressure point by the studios to be assholes and have actors continue to sit around till Christmas. We did find out that I think it was George Clooney's main proposal, but was backed by like Scarlett Johansson and everything. Uh, is not legal right now. They would have to change a lot of things in order for that proposal to be accepted. So yeah. So the actors and apparent like SAG-AFTRA and the AMPTP have been negotiating all weekend. So the hope is that they come in today with an accepted offer. But obviously, SAG-AFTRA needs to accept the right offer and not just, oh, we want to get back into production because Snell is right. Most of the time, Hollywood takes off Thanksgiving to January. So, um, we're missing some time here. But obviously SAG again needs to get the right offer. So hopefully the negotiating committee makes the best decision for the union, and we'll see what happens. So, all right. So Clay is still not here. We're gonna pause as I try and call him again to see if he's alive, if he's taking a nap. Clay.
Your call has been forwarded.
Nope. Still no answer. Live podcasting. A dream. Okay. So here we get into the main topic of today's show, the High Republic Phase 3 predictions, y'all. And I think this one's gonna be fairly short because Clay and I were gonna talk back and forth on these. And I may have a third, but I think I only have two. Um, so we may continue this discussion next week and we'll see what happens. So yeah, just a heads up. But hey, short episodes, sometimes those are nice, right? Okay. So my first prediction for phase 3, and again, I have specifically avoided saying a theory that relates to Eye of Darkness, because I don't want to give away any potential spoilers. We may talk about those next week with our review, uh, but for now, I'm gonna stick with the general theories that don't involve Eye of Darkness. So, my first theory is that we're going to see either Darth Plagueis or Palpatine interacting with the Evereni at some point. Like we could see a flashback with like Marta Rowe talking with either one of them. Because, and this is why I think this, I think you have to have some sort of Sith interaction where the Sith know what's going on. They don't necessarily have to be playing a huge role in the High Republic story because obviously I think the Nihil, the Evereni conflict is like the key point right now. Um and we want that to stay. We don't want that to get overwritten by any Sith appearances coming in or anything. But with the fact that the Acolyte is such a quick turnaround from the High Republic, I think you have to have a general mention of the Sith. You have to say, here's where Darth Plagueis is at. Here's where Palpatine is at. Just to kind of go, okay, we realize that we're getting to the point where Palpatine is going to take over the Republic and needs to be a factor. Um, so we have to make that crossover connection. I need to see that happen because otherwise I'm just gonna be like, what was the point? And now granted, phase 1 and phase 3, like currently the timeline is 3 years. And this is supposed to be 100 years before the Acolyte. So a lot of things could happen in that time frame, but I still because Yoda is like, "Oh, we haven't seen the Sith in a long time." Like I need to see that happen. Okay, I don't need to. I want to see it happen so that everything kind of begins to line up chronologically. Um, the other thing that I really want to see, and this will not be High Republic based, so this is not technically a High Republic Phase 3 prediction. Um, but I want to see a Vernestra Rowe novel. Like something like what we're getting with the Qui-Gon or graphic novel, actually, to get her to the Acolyte because a lot of stuff happens. And with her being 117 years old at that point, I think, because she's no, 115 years old in the Acolyte, roughly. Um, I need to see things that would allow her attitude to change into what she is in the Acolyte. And I think with her being in the Acolyte that, Leslie Headland brought in those writers, to kind of say, "Okay, here's where I went," so that way they can allow for things to change, and clearly, we have seen Vernestra change a lot in 3 years. The Tales of Light and Life story, if you have not read it, it is a it is going to be a key point in Vernestra's character for Defy the Storm. Like, I have not read Defy the Storm, don't get me wrong, but, like, I can almost guarantee that's going to be a huge sticking point. So you like, go to your local library, find the anthology collection, and read that story because that is going to be hugely important for her. Um so my second theory, and I'm seeing if I can come up with a third one. My my head is turning. So my second theory for this is that uh we're going to see some sort of like holocron type thing where like Marta has left everything and we're gonna continue to see her character play a role in phase 3. Because it's just like that's just a I think a good she was such a good character in phase 2. I want to see her stick around is whether it's a hallucination like we saw for Martian. Uh for Martian. That's not a spoiler, I promise. I just said the wrong name. Um like we saw for Marta where she was seeing Ken, the Jedi from Path of Deception, and, like, Yana seeing her girlfriend as a hallucination. I think those are gonna play into things. We could also potentially see, uh, a, reference to Giannis, either, um, like, obviously, we know that Yana and Marta had to have some interaction because Marcion has both staffs. Uh But, like, how did they have a reaction? Are we going to see Yana, like, in the flesh, or are we going to see, like, her great-grandchildren? I don't know. I would love to see Yana come back into play, whether it's, like, a booby trap something. I think that would be really great. Um, let's see. Um, I think obviously with the name of the last book the last adult book in the High Republic Phase 3, Trials of the Jedi, I think we're going to see that legal confrontation with Marcion and potentially the Jedi, whether it's Marcion putting some Jedi on trial or the Jedi putting Marcion on trial. Um, I think that would be really interesting to play and kind of give us that um your story in a Star Wars story. That we all know and love that have we've been heavily getting from the High Republic, which I really appreciate. Um, this isn't really a prediction, but I need to see an Alyssa Wong comic in phase 3. I need them to have their own run, whether it's something like what is the comic name? Like Daniel Jose Older had the mystery comic. I need them to have their own comic. Somebody on Twitter also suggested, what was the place? Oh my gosh. It's, the it's the first trade in Alyssa Wong's run for Dr. Aphra. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but, that first run has a mention of the Nihil destroying basically a scientific uh, area where they had put together a ring that gave riches as well as a ring that gave life. And those together kind of gave you eternal life, but then apart, I don't think the second one was life, but it was something. And but the two rings together gave eternal life. And I think that would be so cool to have that mention. Um and kind of play into the story. Obviously, I think it's meant to, especially bringing Alyssa in. But I don't want Alyssa to just be stuck with, "Hey, here's an anthology story," and, "Hey, here, you're gonna co-write this middle grade novel." I want them to have their own piece of work. I need it. I need Star Wars. Siglain, Mr. Siglain. I need it passionately, please. Okay, let's have an Avar Elzar prediction. Um, Avar Elzar prediction. I think that Elzar is going to end up dying. And Avar is going to be the first to take the new nomenclature of the Barash Val. Because Barash, we all know, left in the Blade comic and got too far in depth. And so Avar, with her feelings on Elzar's death, is going to take the Barash Val. I 100% believe that. I think they like with what we see in phase one, it is too far gone, especially with the way Elzar is playing with the dark side, and how Stellan's death affected him. Like, I think their whole arc is just gonna play out where he's gonna be dead, um, at the end of this because he makes the tough call, to kind of delve into things, especially with the appearance of Aslan Rel. And that's not a spoiler for phase 3 because he makes an appearance in Shadows of Starlight issue number 1. Um, if you are not reading the comic, um, I'm sorry, Aslan Rel appearance is not a spoiler for Eye of Darkness because he's in Shadows of Starlight. Um, So, if you read, um, if you don't read the comics and are looking for a good summary of the issue, now that I've said that, I'm sorry, but it has been out for a month now. Um, so if you're looking for a good summary of those comics, Minot Manor. Ryan kills his summaries and reviews for comics. Like they're really good and they're really good at giving you the details and boiling it down to the key points. So, if you're like I want to read these stories but I am waiting on the trade for instance or whatever, like go read Ryan's reviews because they give you the details and they don't like obviously they're gonna spoil like Aslan Rel making an appearance. There's a key death mention that I won't bring up now, but like he does an incredible job just kind of boiling it down to the important story bits so that you can get the details and not go into like the next story missing things, for instance. Um, not that I'm saying that you're gonna miss anything, but like I think Aslan Rel is going to play a huge part in phase 3. And who knows, maybe he even leads into like the Palpatine Plagueis thing because of his dark. He says he's not a Sith. Is that but like he's just kind of played with the dark side to kind of conquer his fear. So do with that information as you will. But those are kind of my things. Maybe the Avar Elzar has boiled too close, but I don't know. I have not spoiled a single thing from Eye of Darkness. I took notes. Okay, y'all. I made sure. Um I think that's gonna be about it from me though. I will talk with Clay. We'll see if he will do his own predictions or if we will kind of add it on as a segment to next week's episode with our Eye of Darkness review and kind of talk through all of the things. You can find me on most social media platforms. It is at Slice of Katie. This show you can find on Twitter. It's at Star Wars Alliance without the A and the wars. Very important. Don't forget it. If you would like to text or leave us a voicemail, you can do so at 830-538-4828. That's just a very good way for us to get like some of your reactions. Like, did you watch the old Clone Wars show? David reached out. Oh my gosh, I have David's email. I'm gonna wait, David, on your email because you had a lot of points talking about with Clay. So I either want Clay to read that or we'll read it together next week. But David wanted to talk about some of the uh um old Clone Wars TV show, the 2D micro series that we talked about in the last episode. So if you've got opinions on that. If you have predictions for the High Republic Phase 3 that you wanna share, let us know at the phone number or Twitter, or you can also email us. The email is the same username as our Twitter account. It's Star Wars Alliance with no A in the wars at gmail.com. So with that, guys, I want to wish everyone a great day or night, whatever time of day you are listening or watching, and we will see y'all next time. May the force be with you. I should cut the stream first instead of